What's up, Basketball Brain fans and members? Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to get in the zone every time you play. We're going to watch a video right now that's an interview with somebody who's been around Michael Jordan a lot. So I'm going to play a little bit of the video and then comment on it as we go. Let's listen.
How important should it be for LeBron to pass Jordan as the GOAT?
It's interesting. I don't know. I was thinking about this even on the way over here. And I almost think that he will absolutely pass Jordan as the GOAT, and not even necessarily because of anything either of them do, but because youth always beats age and all greatness decays. And you know, when I spent time with Michael for the Cost of These Dreams, and a lot of you guys have spent time around Michael, it's interesting to me that when the questions he's asking himself about what is my legacy, or where will I fit on the Rushmore, or am I the best ever? I mean, it feels to me like those are just simplified versions of him worrying about dying.
So the great pyramids were built by the pharaohs, almost to say to the heavens, to the earth, to the universe, I will not die. I am immortal. And I think Jordan is looking at the meaning of his life. And when he looks at the meaning of his life, he realizes no matter what he has built, people's amnesia, people's desire to want a shiny new thing will subvert the truth. And the truth in his mind is no one will ever be able to top me. Or at least it'll be very hard. I thought it got really deep there for a second. You know, he said everything he worries about is about a fear of death, or the fear of everything being washed away by time. I was in the gym the other day and someone asked me, who's better, MJ or LeBron? I said MJ. And there was a bunch of young guys, I'm in my 40s, or near my 40s I should say, and the kid laughed and he said, I think it's just a generational thing. I said, you know what, you're partly right, but just because your generation likes LeBron more than MJ and thinks that LeBron is better than MJ, that doesn't make it true. I mean, I said to him, I saw almost all of Jordan's games, and I've seen almost all of LeBron's games. From that perspective, I have a better point of observation to make a judgment, way more than you. So the guys who are my age saw both of these guys play, and most of the guys my age, I'd say 90 to 95%, think MJ's better. Not just because MJ came first.
You know, it's that everything he built will absolutely be taken from him piece by piece by piece, and it feels like LeBron is just sort of the first instrument of that.
I think Kobe would disagree with that. He'd say, I was the sledgehammer to Jordan's legacy, the first blow against what Jordan had created. And listen, LeBron's not chipping away at Jordan's legacy being 3-5 in the NBA Finals. He's not chipping away at his legacy when he's never won Defensive Player of the Year. He's not chipping away at his legacy when he hasn't led the league in scoring 10 straight times. Or I think he led it 10 times. I don't know if it was 10 straight. I think it's 6 straight and then 4 straight or something like that. At any rate, you know, people forget that it was almost an unwritten law that you couldn't lead the league in scoring and win an NBA championship, especially if you were a guard. Go look at the players who have led the league in scoring and won championships. There's no other guard on that list. Now, maybe Harden does it this year and joins some very elite company in MJ, but it's very hard to do that. And that was one of Jordan's challenges. He got pissed off and he said, these people are saying you can't lead the league in scoring and win championships. He did it 6 times. That's hard to do. There's a lot of pressure on you when you want to be the best scorer in the league and the best defender in the league. And I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this. But listen, getting rebounds and assists is not as hard as scoring the basketball. It's just not as hard. There are a lot of guys who make it in the NBA because they can only rebound and they can only assist. Scoring a basketball in the NBA is incredibly difficult. And it's incredibly difficult to do it the best. And to lead the league in scoring is something Kobe Bryant's a great scorer. Do we all agree? He led the league in scoring 2 or 3 times. 2 or 3 times, that's it. LeBron maybe once. He's a great scorer. No one's saying that. Harden's a great scorer. How many times has he led the league in scoring? Durant's a great scorer. How many times has he led the league? Jordan had these little challenges within the season that LeBron doesn't really take. And he won these scoring titles without taking away from his team. Jordan was fun to watch because there's always a game within the game with him. There were levels of competition. With LeBron, it seems all about the championship. Jordan went hard in a meaningless game in Toronto, right? He's diving on loose balls at the age of 40. There's something qualitatively different about Jordan than LeBron, and in my opinion, it's mostly psychological. Anyways, it's not to hate on LeBron. He's my second or third best all time. I don't know how it's considered hating when you put a guy 2 or 3 all time. I'm just saying, if you're going to be compared against the very best, there's a different standard there. You can't do it. Shannon Sharp and Chris Carter and these guys and Nick Wright, you listen to them, the only reason they sound compelling is because the people defending Jordan are morons. Skip Bayless is a moron, okay? Like, the way he defends Jordan is embarrassing. Jordan has to be irate that that's his best defender on TV. You got Shannon Sharp, who is a LeBron fanboy. It's disgusting. I don't really like Jordan. I think he's probably not the best person from what I've heard. But if you take a step back, you have to admit the guy's just a better basketball player.
You know, talking to MJ, did you get the impression that that's what he feels? That something's going to be taken away from him?
I think I got the very distinct impression that he knows that. I watched a debate, it might have even been this show with it, but people were talking about Montana and Brady. And he was just like, wait, watch, they're going to say Brady's better. And he's just very aware of the fact that the new shiny thing will always trump the old dusty thing, no matter how great.
I love how competitive Jordan is. And it's true. Montana's basically been forgotten in the discussion for best quarterback of all time. The guy never threw an interception in the Super Bowl. Okay, he's 4-0. Now, I think that's a more of a discussion, Brady versus Montana. But there were games in the Super Bowl with Brady that he won, I think, by a kicker's leg or very luckily won, and made some plays that didn't look like he was in full control of the game. When I watched Jordan, when I watched Montana, 99% of the time it looked like their wins had nothing to do with luck. And I've watched Montana, I've watched LeBron, and sometimes in the finals, in the Super Bowls, I've watched Brady, I've watched LeBron, sometimes in the finals in the Super Bowl, it looks like they got lucky. I mean, honestly lucky, and I know Brady had some bad luck as well, but Ray Allen hits that shot, Kyrie comes down, hits the three. It's when Jordan got double teamed and passed to Kerr, he masterminded that. That wasn't like a spur of the moment, let me get rid of the ball. And when John Paxson hit the shot against the Suns, Jordan was trying to get the ball and Paxson shot it anyways. You know, he never got the ball back, but Jordan was looking for the ball. Go watch the play. So I get what Jordan's saying. These guys had a mastery over the game that LeBron does and Brady does, but maybe not to the same extent that Jordan and Montana do or did.
But does he feel, last question, Max,
No.
does he feel that way because there's a younger generation on the come up that is witnessing LeBron and that has not seen him? Or does he believe that there are people who actually look at LeBron and him and think that LeBron is better?
No, it's absolutely the first thing. Like, he does not, in no part of him does he think LeBron James is better.
And he shouldn't. If he thought that, one, well, killers just don't think that way, but two, I feel like people who think LeBron's better than Jordan need to be taken in for psychiatric evaluation. It's not just the numbers you put up. You can stuff the stat line during the regular season. There have been too many times in LeBron's career where he just didn't go for the throat or he passes when he shouldn't pass. Too many times that he didn't perform in the big moment. I can remember maybe 2 times in Jordan's entire career where he didn't come through in the clutch. I mean, and I'm not just saying of course he missed game winners. That's not what I'm saying, but where he actually, quote unquote, choked. Once was against the Magic, where he got stripped by Nick Anderson. That's when his first comeback after baseball. And the second one was against the Pacers in 1998, I think, and he fell while driving to the hole towards the end of the game. He slipped, and he was beating himself up for that 2 times in an entire career. I can easily think of 10, 12, 15 times in LeBron's career and an entire finals against the Mavericks where he had a game, I think he had 11 points and 6 assists or something. You know, terrible numbers. So that disqualifies him. And from number 1, not from being a great of all time, just from taking that top spot. The defense also LeBron's a lopsided player for a lot of his career. He's mostly an offensive player. Jordan was always equally balanced, and you cannot discount that. You hear these guys saying, oh, Pippen's such a great defender, Pippen's such a great defender. Yeah, Pippen was a great defender, but let me tell you guys something. If he had not played with Jordan, if Jordan had not been on his ass to get after it on defense, had not held him to a higher standard, Pippen's not a top 50 player of all time. Get out of here. That's crazy. No way. No way in hell. He's not even he'd be a decent defender just because of his size, but the psychology to go after other defenders, to shut people down, that competitive streak, Pippen didn't have that until he got around Jordan. Jordan made him have that, or he was going to be shipped out of town. Okay? Leadership is a big differentiator between LeBron and MJ. It's a big differentiator. He made other guys, yes, through terror, through scaring people, raise their game up. LeBron went to teams where players were already playing at a high level, with Wade and Bosh and Kyrie. Jordan took mediocre talent in Pippen and Kerr and made them raise their game. I don't think you can say that about LeBron. He makes players better by getting them the ball in the right spots. Jordan made players psychologically better. He made them reach their potential. Now, I've worked for people. I had a boss once who demanded so much of me, and it made me a better business person. It made me a better person in general. And I've had owners work for people who really put me in the right place to succeed. That's what LeBron does, but they never pushed me. And if I had a choice, I'd go with the guys who pushed me. 100% of the time, they're better leaders than the people who made it easy for me.
Who does MJ think was the GOAT before him?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think MJ thinks that basketball was born with him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think he thinks he is the best player ever and that he transcends all of this.
Come on, guys. That's funny. And I agree. He's the greatest player. He started the modern era. When you see guys who do crazy things athletically, who have athletic guys who have decent form on their jump shots, who can dribble a little bit, that's a direct result of Jordan making the game more fluid, more graceful. I think it's hilarious that he thinks the game began with him. When you're a killer, you have a large ego. And the only reason that ego does not collapse in on itself is because of your work ethic. It's a reality-based narcissism, if you will. It's the amount of hours and dedication he's put in, along with the psychological sharpness that he has. You're hearing, this guy here is kind of what I did in the Killer Instinct program. He's going out and he's studying these wild animals. He's studying lions and wolves, and he's coming back and telling you how they behave.
Also,
right.
Yeah, well, I mean, I happen to agree, but I also am the exact right age to agree.
No, but that's my point. I don't think it's about age if you take a serious look at it. You're right in terms of popular opinion, right? Popular opinion, youth will beat age. But in terms of people who take a serious look at it, it's Babe Ruth. It's Sugar Ray Robinson. Maybe it's Lawrence Taylor on defense. Or now it's Tom Brady. It happens to be the guy around right now, right?
I agree with Max. Just because popular opinion assumes, or some assume, that LeBron's better, doesn't make it true. This isn't a majority rule. It doesn't matter if the majority thinks something is true. In 1984, George Orwell said, the most important minority is the minority of one. It's the individual opinion, because everybody on earth can think something. It doesn't make it true. One person, that one minority, could be right. So I would say if every other person on planet Earth thought that LeBron was a better player, I would confidently stay convinced that MJ was the better player. And just because everybody on earth thought I was wrong wouldn't make me wrong. So Max is making a good point here. Just because the newer generation might see things differently doesn't make it true. And likewise, just because the older generation may love Jordan doesn't make him better than LeBron. It's a fact that when you look at the total body of work, I think it's a very compelling case for MJ. Very briefly, I had made another video on one of my other channels, maybe I'll post it here, and I said, a good way to look at LeBron and Jordan is, and I'm not being religious, I'm just making a funny analogy here, that Jordan is Jesus. One of his nicknames was Black Jesus. And LeBron's like St. Francis. Like, can you really criticize St. Francis? You can't criticize St. Francis. He's a saint. He was loving. He was great. He was all of these things. But he's not Jesus. So that's my relationship with Jordan. To me is Jesus, and LeBron is St. Francis. I'm just using a funny analogy here. I'm not making any religious points, of course.
It was Michael Jordan.
Oh, it was absolutely Michael Jordan. I guess I would argue that the people who were taking the serious look, I mean, the four of us, that's not the people it's important to Michael Jordan to exist in the imaginations of. It's important for him to be thought of when he walks. It's the Ted Williams thing. All I want is for when I walk down the street, people to say, there goes the greatest hitter who ever lived. By the way, that's all you want, you narcissist. But, like, I think there's a lot of that you want people to think that.
I bet you guys have experienced this, too, on a smaller scale, where you think, I talk to a lot of you guys, so I know it's true. You look at the starters on your team, or you look at the guys who are making the All-Star team, and you go, what the? I'm better than that guy. This is crap. Now imagine knowing you're the greatest player of all time like Jordan knows, and then hearing people say you're not. It must just, and there's nothing you can do about it. I hope, I've said this before, I hope we can extract Jordan's DNA and then, forget dinosaurs. Let's rebuild Jordan. Let's rebuild Kobe. Let's get LeBron's DNA and let's have a Jurassic Park of the NBA and let these guys effing go at it. Because I know who's going to emerge victorious in those games. And I think everyone does. If you had a finals game, Game 7, your life was on the line, what player would you want playing? Man, I'm taking Jordan. Number 2, I'm taking Bird. I don't know after that. But Game 7, everything on the line, maybe you can make a case for LeBron to be, second or third there because he's played pretty well in Game 7s, really well in Game 7s. But I'm telling you, if my family's life was on the line, who am I taking? MJ. Every single time. And yeah, they're narcissistic. But see, what non-killers don't understand, when you've given your life to something, the way Jordan gave his life to basketball, and then you were successful at it, you want to defend your throne. One of the last lessons in the Killer Instinct program is you defend the throne. Once you reach the top, you do whatever you have to do to stay at the top. And it probably drives Jordan nuts that he can't defend his legacy against guys like Shannon Sharpe. Could you imagine Jordan going on First Take and talking to Shannon Sharpe? Shannon Sharpe would wither and shrivel because the obvious answer to the question, who's the greatest, would be apparent when you're in Jordan's presence. I think, personally, Shannon Sharpe likes LeBron, wants LeBron to be the best, because Shannon really likes LeBron's politics. I think that has something to do with it. Look, if that's the way he thinks, that's fine, but I really think he should be more honest about it, or really do some more introspection about why he likes LeBron so much. I don't think it's just a basketball argument. I think he believes LeBron is the type of guy that should be the greatest ever because he's also great off the court and can lead a political movement. I think that's part of Shannon Sharpe's analysis because I just don't see it with basketball. I mean, missing free throws, how can you be the greatest of all time when you're making 6 out of 10 free throws? That's crazy. I mean, that's disqualifying in and of itself. You can't be the greatest of all time when you miss free throws.
How does he feel about the notion, whether it's Kobe or to a present degree, LeBron, sort of chasing him or in their own way trying to convince or have tried to convince folks they actually have arrived, that they are the GOAT themselves? How does he feel, MJ feel, about that?
Well, it's so funny. I sat one evening and we watched, 3 or 4 straight basketball games, which is just a really profound thing to do, to watch him watch.
That's right.
But and you know this very well, but it's the era. Oh, they didn't have to play in my era. If they had to play in my era, he views himself as just individually better, but also the competition that he played with, he views as extraordinarily more talented.
I should just label this video, MJ's right. Yeah, it was different. The defense was different. The guys were more fundamental. Even if they moved a little bit more robotic and angular, they were very fundamental. They were better coached. And there was something about, I've said this before, if you grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s in the U.S., it was a grittier time, man. It was a grittier time. Technology can make people soft. The guys coming up now, you don't realize how pampered you are, even if you live in a poor neighborhood. And listen, when I was in middle school, junior high, we lived in a double-wide trailer. I wasn't rich by any means. But even my lifestyle, compared to what my grandparents went through, is not even close, right? So we're a little softer than the guys from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but if you're 70s, 80s, 90s, you are much grittier than people who were born in the 90s and early 2000s. It's just a different psychology. It was much more working class, much tougher, much grittier, much poorer. You know, to be able to go home, no matter what neighborhood you live in, and I've lived in Harlem for a lot of years, even the South Bronx for a while, everybody had 2 TVs, PlayStations, Netflix, internet. You know, it's not the same. When I was a kid, you come home, you had like VHS tapes and, you know, other than that, a cassette player. When I first moved to New York, early 2000s, I still used a cassette player, and sometimes I used to carry the big, you know, CDs, the CD player too, but I actually had a cassette player. So it was a different time. I know it seems trivial, but they were grittier and tougher. And the game's going to change as the personalities and psychologies of the players change. Would LeBron be successful in that era? Of course. Would he be as successful? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see him beating Boston. I don't see him beating the Pistons. I think Westbrook would fit right in. I think Patrick Beverley would fit right in. But other than that, I don't know. Who has that killer in them? Who has it? And let me add Kobe, of course.
Difficult in theirs.
Speak to what I'm about to say here, and I've told Max this on several occasions. When you have guys like him, all of those great champion Hall of Famers, their number one thing isn't even about judging an athlete, a successor to them. It's about making sure the standards that you apply to them are applied to these guys. Nothing offends them more than changing the standard and sort of making the path to prosperity easier for the successor as opposed to them.
Oh, that is exactly true.
Number one, it's the defenses are different, and number two, Jordan played defense. I think the standards have been lowered for LeBron in a lot of ways. 3, you know, losing in the finals is a loss in the finals. It's not the same as an early exit in the playoffs. It's not the same as losing in the conference finals. Maybe that's not fair. But when you make it to the Super Bowl, air quotes, the Super Bowl of basketball, the finals, that counts more. It doesn't matter if you have a bad team. It doesn't matter if you have not enough guys. You have to win. Look at Pippen's numbers in the 1998 finals. He had back problems. I think he averaged 14 and 8. Like, not killing it, okay? That Jordan carried that team. He really carried that team. So the excuses guys like Shannon Sharp make for LeBron, or when they downplay Jordan's achievements in the finals, to me that's, you know, Jordan's right. That's a different standard. Jordan was told you had to win, and he was lambasted for much of his career when he lost to the Celtics and the Pistons. Now, you could say, well, thank God he didn't meet him in the finals. He would have lost in the finals. See, we don't know, because in the finals, Jordan may even go harder, right? He may win. LeBron almost beat the Warriors very shorthanded one time. You never know what will happen in the final. So those hypotheticals, to me, like, they're fun to entertain, I guess. And if you're a LeBron fan, I can see why you would. But we have to assume Jordan's going to raise his level of play to the finals to extraterrestrial levels, even compared to the conference finals. So I don't know. Could the Bulls have beat the Celtics in the finals? I think it's a different Jordan in the finals compared to even the Eastern Conference Finals. Sorry, that's what I believe.
It's like the line from that TV show, The West Wing, I love, where Toby's complaining about they changed the SAT score standards and it made him dumber, like 20 years after he took the test. Jordan absolutely wants the line to be held about how the game is played, how you prepare for it, how you're a professional. And so he sees the assault on the idea of him as the GOAT, not just as having to do with the players who are doing it, but this decaying culture that he views as essential to the game.
Yeah, the standards have decayed. I'm going to do a video shortly when Kobe was 34 years old and the Lakers were really struggling. They had Dwight Howard and Steve Nash, and Dwight was a shell of himself really after the injury. Dwight gets a bad rap, and he's not hyper competitive, but he was never the same after that back surgery. And Nash goes down. The only guy on that team who had heart was Artest. But the Lakers were not going to make the playoffs. So what's Kobe do? Kobe starts picking up full court defense, right? For the entire 34 years old. Now, again, he blew out his Achilles that season, but that's what you do. It's not a real killer is so present focused on the task at hand. They're going to jeopardize their future to achieve what they want now. So I do think, again, LeBron's top 2 or 3 for me, right? Or 2 or 3, I should say. So it's not bashing a guy when you say he's the second best of all time, you know? It's just, he's been very lopsided the past few seasons. And that's Skip Bayless's best point. LeBron doesn't play defense, or he does it in spurts. Jordan was NBA first team 9 times on defense or something like that. Defensive player of the year, led the league in steals. Guys feared him on offense and defense. Guys don't fear LeBron on offense that much, and they only fear him on defense on a chase down block. Jordan was always lurking. He'd steal your passes. He'd throw your stuff in the stands. He'd lock you down. He's just the best ever. Sorry, guys.
You're absolutely correct. You get to your 50s. And all those traits that are so hard won that made you Michael Jordan are now not only useless, they're worse than useless, because those are the things that are actively conspiring to keep you from enjoying having been Michael Jordan. And so, like, when you talk about all these really great athletes, I have met very few of them who I think are in their 60s who are happy, who are content with all of their choices, who, if they had it to do over again, would do it the same way.
The movie Searching for Bobby Fischer. Can you be Michael Jordan and be a normal person? It's not possible.
Well, yeah, and even more than that, what do you do when you used to be Michael Jordan and now you aren't? And now there's LeBron James. Now there's the fact that your knees don't work like they used to. Like, simple aging stuff that happens to all of us must come as an enormous shock and betrayal to someone like Michael Jordan.
It's funny, I was just watching this movie. I think it's called Billionaire. I can't remember. His name, Ryan Reynolds is in it. And anyways, there's this old guy. He's a titan in business, and he's really changed the world. And he's approached by this company that says, look, we do this special procedure. We can give you a new body, a new shell. And we only approach people who make the world a better place, the smartest people, the brightest people, people who can really impact the world because they're so different and special. And this billionaire takes it. And of course, I won't spoil the plot, but you can check it out. It's with Ryan Reynolds. I can't remember the name of it. Is there any doubt in your mind that if you approached Jordan right now and said, hey, I got a 20-year-old body, brand new, waiting for you. Your same DNA will be in there. It's just a new physical body. You have the same body, the exact same genetics. Would Jordan take it? Would he give up all of his fortune? Give up the team? Give up his life, his family, to get a new body and go against LeBron, to go against a Kobe, to go against a Harden? I think we know the answer to that. Of course he would. He would give it all up in a second. Monomaniacal, obsessive, compulsive competitiveness. I know a lot of you guys listening are the same way. And you're furious that you don't have maybe the genetic gifts to go against Jordan, right? I mean, wouldn't it be great to be given a 6'6" body with a 45-inch vertical, take your skill set and say, roll the ball out and go against MJ? Oh my God, I would do it. I'd probably give everything up for that, wouldn't you? Everything. So anyways, I know it's a long video. It was just me talking the way I talk to my friends. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check out basketballbrain.com if you want to get the Killer Instinct program or the full mental training program. Bye, guys.